So, for millions of people out there who absolutely love cats but start tearing up the exact second one walks into the room, the idea of a quote unquote hypoallergenic cat sounds, well, almost too good to be true. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're investigating this universal dream of the allergy free cat. We're going to dive right into the data to see if this perfectly allergy free pet is actually a scientific reality or if it's really just a product of incredibly good marketing. Let's just tackle the biggest question on every sniffling cat lover's mind right out of the gate. Do hypoallergenic cats actually work? Well, the answer, as you might guess, is a little complicated. You see, certain breeds constantly advertised as being better for allergy sufferers, right? But to really figure out if they work, we've got to break down what causes the allergy in the very first place, and what that specific label actually means when we look at it through a scientific lens. To crack this case, we first have to define our terms. Here's the absolutely crucial point. The word hypoallergenic simply means something is less likely to trigger an allergic reaction. It absolutely does not mean the risk is zero. This is a massive, massive misconception. Literally, experts universally agree that no cat breed is completely free of allergens. None. So when you hear breeders or pet shops throw that term around, they're talking about a reduction in risk, not completely eliminating it. To really understand why no cat is 100% allergy-free, we actually need to exonerate an innocent bystander. Contrary to what everyone thinks, most people are not actually allergic to cat fur itself. The fur, it's largely just the vehicle. Instead, we have to point the finger at the true microscopic culprit causing all those sneezes, a super stealthy protein called FeLD1. This specific protein is the actual biological root of the vast majority of cat allergies.
Okay, so if it's not the fur, where exactly does this protein come from? Well, FeLD1 naturally originates in a cat's saliva, their skin oils, and their dander. And you know how cats are, right? They're notoriously obsessive about their bathing habits, spending literally hours upon hours just meticulously licking themselves clean. Because of that, this protein gets spread absolutely everywhere, all over their skin, all over their fur, and eventually those microscopic particles dry up, flake off, and just become completely airborne.
And that right there perfectly illustrates why this particular allergen is so incredibly difficult to escape. Honestly, think of the FeLD1 protein like microscopic glitter. The source material points out that it's both incredibly lightweight and highly, highly sticky. Because of those two traits, it goes airborne super easily, it lingers heavily on furniture, carpets, your favorite clothes, and it clings to pretty much everything it touches. It's actually so persistent that it can be found lingering in homes that don't even have cats. I mean, how crazy is that? Now, let's move along and see how all of this builds into our understanding of specific cat breeds. Because despite the wildly pervasive nature of FeLD1, there actually is a lineup of specific breeds out there that are commonly described as more allergy-friendly. We're talking about the super fluffy Siberian and Balinese, the sleek Russian blue, the curly-haired Devon and Cornish Rexes, and yeah, of course, the hairless Sphinx. These breeds are generally believed to either produce lower levels of the FeLD1 protein to begin with, or they just shed less fur and dander, which means they're spreading those allergens way less aggressively throughout your house. But, among all those contenders, the Siberian cat actually really stands out. While a lot of breeds just rely on anecdotal reports from allergy sufferers, people saying they happen to experience fewer symptoms around them, the Siberian is one of the very few breeds that actually has concrete scientific evidence backing up the claim. They genuinely produce lower average levels of this FeLD1 protein. That's a real game changer. Which naturally brings us to a really fascinating paradox. If the cat fur itself isn't the actual problem, but rather the protein that's carried on it, are hairless breeds, like the Sphinx, the ultimate cure for allergy sufferers? I mean, a lot of people logically assume that without a big coat of fur, a hairless cat just has to be perfectly hypoallergenic, right? But is that actually the case? Surprisingly, no. The wild irony here is that lacking fur actually creates a direct surface for all those allergens. Because hairless cats don't have fur to trap their natural skin oils, those FeLD1 allergens literally just collect directly on their bare skin. Remember, the allergen comes from the saliva and the skin, not the fur itself. So hairless cats are absolutely still producing the exact same dander and saliva that triggers strong allergic reactions. And while sure, some allergy sufferers do report tolerating them better, others still experience really severe symptoms around them. Plus, we have to realize that breed isn't the only factor at play here. Let's look at some of the biological accomplices. It turns out a cat's sex and their neutering status actually play a massive role in how allergenic they might be. The source data clearly shows that male cats very often produce more allergens than female cats. And even among the males, intact males generally produce significantly higher allergen levels than neutered males. So the really crucial takeaway here, and honestly the reason why there are absolutely no guarantees, is that individual variation is just huge. Like, you could have two cats of the exact same breed, the exact same sex, and they can naturally produce vastly different amounts of that FeLD1 protein. Seriously, you could adopt two Siberian littermates. One might have you sneezing constantly, while the other triggers almost no symptoms at all. And to flip it around, even two people with the exact same allergy severity might react completely differently to the exact same cat. It's wild. So where does this leave us? If you have allergies, but you are just absolutely determined to bring a cat into your life, you might be wondering, okay, what actionable steps can I actually take? Since we now know we can't completely eliminate the allergen biologically, what can we actively do to make coexistence possible in our own homes? Well, the good news is you can aggressively mitigate this protein if you've got a strict battle plan. We're talking utilizing HEPA air purifiers to catch all that lightweight microscopic glitter, vacuuming frequently, washing your bedding and fabrics super regularly, and establishing strict allergy-free zones, like making your bedroom completely off-limits to the cat. Also, regular cleaning and brushing of the cat significantly reduces that allergen buildup. Plus, and this is pretty cool, there are actually some newer products and specialized diets currently being developed that actively help reduce those FeLD1 levels right at the source, on the cats themselves. But because a lot of those newer diets and allergen-reducing products are still in the development phase, the absolute best thing you can do right now, today, is to interact directly with a specific cat before you adopt them. Because allergic reactions vary wildly from person to person, and allergen production varies wildly from cat to cat, you really have to gauge your own unique reaction. Whenever it's possible, experts highly recommend spending time with the individual cat, ideally multiple times before bringing them home. You just have to see exactly how your body handles their specific protein levels. Ultimately, finding the right cat involves a really careful mix of breed selection, rigorous allergy management at home, and just hands-on interaction. So knowing that the perfectly allergy-free cat is in fact a myth, the real question becomes this. Just how far are we willing to go? From blasting HEPA filters to waiting on future feline vaccines just to share our lives with these amazing animals? Are you ready to put in the work, manage your environment, and test your allergies to find your perfect, slightly allergenic match?